I'm Dane Rose, founder and chairman of Happiness Data, and referring to my notes here from time to time, I want to walk you through the thought process that I've used to arrive at this project and why I think it's such an important investment in the nonprofit sector. The first thing that I want to just outline is an intelligent definition of intelligence. And I would suppose that the efficient conversion of energy, money, time, natural resources, into sustainable human well-being is the most intelligent definition of intelligence. And so what we're looking at is leverage. And one of the things that this, of course, brings into focus is the explosion of the smartphone, the well over $1 trillion being spent in an infrastructure that is already on the body. And so where we've focused on in this project is leveraging the free cell phone platforms and leveraging that entire investment in infrastructure to release a potential for human well-being and gathering data that is free but builds upon that investment and leveraging that. So this is the focus, an app that generates more well-being per unit of energy invested than any other technology on the planet. So that's the goal. And it's within the realm of possibility. Let's say that it has a 10% chance of doing that. Now, I think that's incredible because the project funding is $125,000. Now, if we step back a moment away from, any sense of egos and competency, etc. If a project has a 10% chance, let's say it even has a 1% chance of delivering more human well-being sustainably than any other technology on the planet, be that the manufacture of flour or the massages or whatever it's relative, because of its low cost. We're not talking about a $2 million Lamborghini that gives you a thrill. We're talking about something that's pennies to operate, to transform people's lives. This is an incredible opportunity. In the paradigm of angel investing, if you make 20 bets with this kind of potential, you're looking for one to pay off. And if you're investing in human well-being and human potential, and you can make 20 $100,000 bets, and one of them catapults your industry into a new level of efficiency, and even in failure is a success through the technology developed, you have an incredible windfall of opportunity on your hands. And so that is the thought process of arriving to this point. Now, what are the goals? What do I want to accomplish with this project? Well, one of the big gaps that I notice in, for example, the blue zones of happiness, or looking at various countries ranked by happiness, is the metrics used, the simplicity of the metrics used are, they're stunningly crude. And I have not encountered on multiple continents spending $250,000 personally in whether it's alternative therapies, personal growth, workshops. I have not encountered a comprehensive well-being metric that allows us to measure the many trade-offs that go on, for example, as you in Western culture trade technology and the efficiency of time management for example, in Thailand, the quality of presence. As we trade efficiency for presence, but we only measure the material advancement and do not measure the presence that is lost, the very tangible felt experience that in my data gathering of foreign nationals in Thailand repeats again and again that the average improvement in well-being of someone spending time in Thailand, a very poor country, I might add, in outer economic metrics, is 300%. Now, I find the same to be true, which is why I spend 6 months of the year in Thailand. And it's not because of the architecture, and it's certainly not because of the traffic, and no one speaks English, but it's the quality of presence. And this is not on a well-being metric. Now, you can see indicators of that in tourism, for example, the bounce back rate, the amount of people that go to Thailand and then, having gone once, come back is a very high ranking worldwide. So you see it indicated indirectly. But there is currently no metric of comprehensive human well-being that measures all of the senses, taste, touch, smell, sound, and sight. But also the inner metrics, the quality of interaction, not just mentally, but emotionally. And so one of the goals of this project is to develop an effective, comprehensive well-being metric that can become the new standard for anyone who wants to measure worldwide in any situation the comprehensive well-being of a given demographic, of a given person. And because this is so important, what types of activities, what types of interactions see certain areas of that metrics ascending as others descend. In other words, the person that decides to go vagabonding, pick up a backpack and travel around the world, that notices their vitality increasing by 250%, that notices their sense of presence and being in their body increasing by 300%, but also has their finances decreasing by 80% or 70%, and has their resume prospects go down by 40%. What's going on in these different lifestyles that see certain things increasing, certain things decreasing, which are not visible within a shallow and simple metric of quality of life? I would say that despite my evidence in interviewing people about how much happier you are in Thailand, again, an average of 300%, the high numbers say 100 times happier, and the lowest, every now and again, I hear someone say they're happy anywhere they go, and so their happiness hasn't changed much. But they've still voted to be in Thailand when they could be anywhere else. So there is strong evidence, and yet it doesn't show up on metrics. This is the first goal. The second goal is a modular design or a platform. In this case, very much similar to whether it's the Windows platform, the Android platform, the Facebook platform, a platform of modular design. In other words, that the foundation of this app, with a working title of well-being, the foundation is the metric which corresponds to the profile. In other words, an extensive and growing profile that is a partnering with the software, whereas you fill in your gluten-free and your kosher and your specialty diet and your favorite preferences, that the app responds and supports you in alerting new friends and colleagues on the app about your dietary preferences. This is my favorite restaurant. This is my favorite 3 dishes. These are things that I can't stand. This is something that I like but isn't really good for me. This is an allergy. I prefer to eat organic food. That is, you fill in the dietary profile and refine it over time. The software partners with you relative to that information. In other words, in another module of the app, where people develop a recipe that has, in the underlying umbrella, in the overlying umbrella of well-being, has brought them well-being. If the recipe is gluten-free, you get an alert. There's a new opportunity for well-being that's compatible with your diet. So in this modular design with the foundation in the ever-expanding profile, as you develop an interest in quiet, clear mind meditation, anytime there is a friend or colleague in your circle on the app who develops that interest, you both get an alert. Here's someone who shares your interest. As you develop a bucket list of, I want to go hang gliding, or I want to go scuba diving, you get link alerts. And so as you fill out the bucket list profile and the dietary profile and your favorite activities and your daily routine and your love languages. This is another technology I won't fully get into, but the 5 love languages, a powerful technology that can help couples and friends connect more successfully. John Gottman, in his powerful research on what helps people stay together, again, there's an opportunity to partner with the pioneers in different fields in the areas that matter, which Sonia Lyubomirsky in her work on happiness finds its quality of relationships and daily habits, which brings into the schedule that the app can support with alerts to have, be it gratitude reminders or appreciations, that you can, once you communicate the kinds of rewards that you like for doing something difficult, you can have a ritual of celebrating a task done tapping on the reward me icon. And whether it's something from your friends where you share the celebration and people give something back, or whether it's something that you've pre-fed. Like, I love hearing this kind of thing, and so when you pre-feed and type in 20 positive reward things, and you tap reward me, and the app spits out one of those, and you let that in. You receive something that you've pre-invested. So, number one, an extensive profile that is a source of very rich, one-time entered data that populates and starts relating to all of the well-being modules that can be developed over time. This is incredible. Now, the next thing is the open source platform. Because when there is only one goal, and the goal is simple, to create as much human well-being per unit of energy invested as possible, the obvious solution is to share, is to make the code free and open source for public interest, meaning licensed to anyone that's using it to create well-being. Now, corporations, this gets into the long-term sustainability of the program. Corporations can be licensed to use the product for improved development and employee relationships in their modules as a result of licensing for commercial use. And those licensing fees are what triple the leverage of your investment, meaning you're investing in something that you want to grow and have as much impact as possible. Now, once we have data, and this is several years down the line, once we have data that this module can increase goal achievement in important and worthwhile goals, that this module includes working relationships in these areas, that the data from this allows HR to tune in and meet the needs and understand how happy each of its employees are and why. Once we have that data, and the use of the app can trigger an explosion in value within a company or within any organization, it is an intelligent choice to invest and train and recommend that technology to employees, to use that within a for-profit sector. And that becomes the funding for the development of the app moving forward for everyone else. That's what pays for the data storage, in other words, and the ongoing development of the app. But in the open source program, there's one more incredible probability field. And that's really what we're working with. We're working with probability fields. We're looking at the highest we can possibly go with this using a 10x model of thinking, 10x better than anything else available. But we're also looking at the lowest, the stop loss sell order. Because with this being an open source project, licensed from the get-go, that anyone can contribute to, meaning anyone can build a module for this as long as it's available for everyone. And they can plug their module in, and it immediately starts working with all of the profile data that's already there. The diet data, the relationship preferences, the daily routine, the ideal time to call me is, the bucket list, my ideal job, my core talents are, my greatest philanthropic wishes would be to contribute these skills in these ways with these kinds of people to make things happen, unleashing that data. Once we have that data in place, and anyone can partner with it. And that the job of the organization is just to test it for bugs before releasing it to all members. And once we have corporations and profit centers funding the unlimited storage related to well-being, we've now got a sustainable engine that is benefiting the for-profit sector and the nonprofit sector, that is free for users, and that is powerfully unleashing human well-being. So this is the vision. This is the concept. And it will take roughly 14 months from the point of funding to release a beta version, which is, of course, freely available, and get feedback. The goal will be to have it used with 1,500 people initially, more is fine, and to gather data on what parts of the core modules developed are creating the most well-being. One of the core features is that anyone can recommend an idea. I really want this feature. And it's very easy to capture the screenshot, the audio, etc. And that goes into the community. And anyone can vote on it. And the ideas that get the most likes are what we will develop. So the other final piece as part of this stage one in the project is to do a comparison where we take a random sampling of 100 people, and then we enlist 100 people who are using the app for the first time, and we measure them for 90 days, side by side. And what we look for is per dollar invested, meaning the pennies it takes to store their data, on an online server and facilitate the app and fix bugs and stuff. Per dollar invested, how much potential is released? How much well-being is released in the people that are using the app versus the control group? And this will provide, for the first time, a framework for measuring dollar for dollar what does and doesn't produce the most well-being. And that framework is exciting. Now, happiness data is not about spin. Happiness data is going to share what works and what doesn't work and why as transparently as possible. The budget for this project will be transparent. The code itself open source with the license agreement. The entire thing can fail halfway through. I can die. And what's there, the vision, my assistant, a very competent person, can continue. So the stages of development in this project will be to create a complete virtual concept of well-being as an app, and have 25 people review that virtually, imagining what it's like to do this, the interface, etc. Next will be to secure bids and develop it. Now, I've already secured bids in the $40,000 range for the core module, but I'm a pessimist, or a constructive pessimist, and so I expect, having worked with contractors in various fields, I expect this to go over budget and have glitches and possibly need to change teams and, in order to keep this going. So that's built in there so that this will continue with all of those nightmares that come up with new technologies and projects. So if you'd like to be on board, we can meet, we can talk, and just let me know the amount that you're interested in investing, and also what's most exciting to you about this technology and this idea. For me, it's unleashing potential, particularly for human relationships, and it's also just the leverage of the whole thing, and the chance to share and give something back.